Imagine a banquet in a palace in Alexandria. Gold glitters, music plays, servants carry baskets of grapes and glasses of wine. And amid this luxury, a wedding. The bride and groom approach the priests, and they are brother and sister. The crowd applauds as if it were the most sacred union on earth. Now think, would you raise a glass at such a wedding, knowing that the bride and groom are brother and sister? Sounds like a myth. But this is not a legend, it is the reality of the Ptolemaic dynasty. For 3 centuries, they ruled Egypt, leaving behind not only the grandeur of temples and libraries, but also a gruesome chronicle of incest, poisonings, and fratricidal wars. You know the name Cleopatra. She is usually remembered as a beauty who charmed Caesar and Antony. But her true roots lie in a horrific family saga where brothers fought against sisters, mothers strangled their own children, and any glass of wine could be poisoned. How did this story begin? After the death of Alexander the Great, his empire fell apart. One of his generals, Ptolemy, seized Egypt and quickly realized that in order to maintain power, he had to play by the local rules. And the rule of the pharaohs was simple: the ruler must be a god. The best way to emphasize his divinity? Marriage to his own sister. What seemed like perversion to the Greeks was an ancient sacred tradition in Egypt. So the Ptolemies began to copy rituals, titles, and even the cult of the gods. Thus began a terrible experiment: could a dynasty based on incest survive? The first generation still maintained the appearance of order. But over time, the palace in Alexandria turned into an arena of conspiracies and poisons. Every banquet, every night in the royal chambers could be the last. This is a story about how grandeur and horror can coexist. How true hell is hidden beneath marble columns and the scent of incense. And today we will dive right into it. Ptolemy I, the founder of the dynasty, still adhered to the usual rules. He did not marry his sister, but took Queen Berenice as his wife. But his son, Ptolemy II, broke this norm and officially married his sister Arsinoe II for the first time. This came as a shock to the Greeks. Imagine a temple where a crowd sings hymns to Brother Sun and Sister Moon. Outwardly, it is grandeur, but in reality, it is the beginning of a new, bloody cycle. From that moment on, every marriage in this family became dangerous. The most striking example is Ptolemy IV. He went down in history not for his victories, but for his crimes. To take the throne, he eliminated his own brother and even his own mother. His wife was his sister Arsinoe III. The people saw her as a true queen, and that is why she became a victim. After her husband's death, her mother-in-law had her killed to get rid of her rival. From that moment on, a pattern emerged for future generations. A sister could poison her brother during a banquet, a mother could turn against her children, and children could turn against their parents. During the day, there were golden processions; at night, there were verdicts signed in the dark. Ptolemy IV's nickname was Philopator, meaning father-lover. But he ordered the killing of both his father and mother. Even his title turned into a bloody joke. He lived like a debaucher: endless banquets, nightly revelries, a sea of wine. But even worse was that even the youngest heirs became victims. They were eliminated so that there would be no pretenders to the throne. The empire was in decline. While revelry continued in the palace, the peasants rebelled, the desert took over the fields, and the mighty state weakened. Thus, the degeneration of the dynasty itself became a sentence for all of Egypt. When we hear the name Cleopatra, we imagine a fatal beauty who charmed Caesar and Antony. But before becoming a legend, Cleopatra VII was the daughter of that same degenerate dynasty. Her father, Ptolemy XII, flute player, loved music and entertainment more than the state. He also married his sister, and Cleopatra was born from this union. From childhood, she knew that in this family, brothers and sisters were not allies, but enemies. When she became queen, Cleopatra had to share the throne with her younger brother. But in the Ptolemaic dynasty, sharing meant war. The armies of brother and sister clashed in a real war. Ptolemy XIII died while fleeing, according to the official version, drowning in the Nile. But everyone understood that there were no accidents in this dynasty. History repeated itself with her other brother, Ptolemy XIV. He also, suddenly, died at a young age. And we know very well that there were no accidents in this dynasty. Cleopatra realized that she had to look for allies outside Egypt. That is how Julius Caesar and Mark Antony appeared in her life. But even their support did not save her kingdom from Rome. Her end is known to all: legendary suicide, snake bite, or poison. Imagine the last queen of Egypt standing on the ruins of a dynasty where incest and bloodshed reigned for 3 centuries. Thus ended the history of the Ptolemies, and the myth of Cleopatra was born. A woman who rose above everyone else in a family of monsters, but fell with them. The history of the Ptolemies is not only about Egypt. It is about human nature. About how the thirst for power can destroy even the most sacred thing, family. Outwardly, their dynasty shone. Alexandria was one of the richest cities in the world. The library stored knowledge from India to Spain. The temples impressed even Roman commanders. But behind this facade was hell. Every wedding could end in war. Every glass of wine was poison. For 300 years, this dynasty was held together by blood, and ended with the suicide of the last queen. Why can't we take our eyes off it even now? Why does the name Cleopatra live on today? Perhaps because this story reminds us that empires do not fall because of external enemies, but because of their own greed. The Ptolemies wanted to look like gods, and became monsters. Look around, even today, dynasties and political clans are at war with each other. Ambition tears families and states apart. So the main question is, are we really so different from them?